Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. We've got an absolutely wild story for you today, one that is essentially a masterclass in escalation. We're going to trace how a totally mundane, everyday failure, specifically a dispute over a used car, directly sparks the creation of a highly advanced, cryptographically secure digital justice system. It's kind of crazy, but it perfectly maps out how everyday vulnerabilities force us to adapt. Let's dive in.
Here's our roadmap for the journey today. We'll start with a sovereign digital sanctuary, move into vulnerabilities in connected systems, look at the physical catalyst, examine the algorithmic suspension, discuss the philosophy of systemic failure, and finally wrap up with architecting digital justice.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, a sovereign digital sanctuary.
What we're looking at is the rich, almost mythological architecture of the Morsic sanctuary. By blending AI-generated art with hard technical system outputs, the creator built a space that functions as both a massive data archive and a platform for emotional restoration. It's essentially a sovereign broadcast node, completely immune to the standard takedowns and algorithmic purges that we see all the time from big tech. Now, the technical backbone making all of this possible is something called the Tiamat Protocol. It utilizes these Tartarian Chronicle scrolls that are synced to an immutable IPFS archive to ensure secure, verifiable data routing. It's incredibly robust. But, to understand why someone would go out of their way to build something this complex, we really have to look at the fragility of the systems we all rely on every single day.
Moving right along to Section 2, vulnerabilities in connected systems. We live in a deeply connected, but honestly, a highly fragile world. Just looking at the oil and gas industry, you've got deepfake voice tech actively targeting executives, and ransomware absolutely crippling unpatched legacy systems. The massive infrastructures we rely on for basic energy and stability can literally be brought to their knees by a single digital vulnerability. And this fragility isn't just in massive power grids, it's sitting right in our pockets too. Take the constant data battle in local transit apps, for instance. A massive platform like Google Maps offers broad context, sure, but it suffers from real-time delays. On the flip side, local transit apps pull direct feeds to avoid phantom buses. It just goes to show that even our most everyday systems have pretty critical blind spots. So what's the big takeaway here? It's that systemic failure is absolutely not just some theoretical concept locked away in a server room. It is a daily reality, and it sets the stage for deeply personal, physical world collisions, which brings us to the specific breakdown that started this entire story. That brings us to Section 3, the physical catalyst. This right here is the ultimate he said, she said stalemate over an $8,000 used car. On one side, we have Jacqueline Moore, who suspects theft after her broken-down Ford Explorer's LoJack tracker is actively disconnected. On the exact opposite side, the mechanic claims the car was repaired, broke down again, and that Jacqueline just ghosted them. It's a completely mundane, everyday mess. But because this was just a spontaneous, verbal agreement, law enforcement essentially hit a brick wall. A police sergeant physically went out and verified that Jacqueline's vehicle was intact, which meant no explicit crime of theft could actually be proven. By February 17th, the case was just closed as information only. So the physical justice system offered absolutely zero path to resolution, basically leaving her stranded. Which leads into Section 4, the algorithmic suspension. Now, right at the same time all of this physical world drama is happening, Jacqueline was facing a totally different kind of eviction, a digital one. Her Google business profile was suddenly suspended out of nowhere for deceptive content. The likely culprit? Something known as the ghost business algorithm. Because her profile happened to log 0 interactions in December, the automated system simply purged her identity without any due process, just a brutal algorithmic false positive. But Jacqueline didn't just take this lying down. She actually formulated a regulatory appeal to the Oregon Attorney General. As her complaint highlights so well, when an automated system holds monopoly power, an algorithmic error isn't just some technical glitch. It's a real economic injury. It is literally a storefront closure executed by a faceless entity. Let's dive into Section 5, the philosophy of systemic failure. Being rejected by both physical and digital systems at the same time sparked a really profound philosophical response, which she documented in a personal manifesto called My Take. Jacqueline made a very conscious choice to transmute the pain of these broken trusts into a platform of her own. She decided to take the very spaces and situations meant to harm her and use them as the bedrock to build something unshakably safe. When we impartially analyze her writing here, we see her explicitly linking her personal experiences with both the police and these corporate algorithms to much broader historical and systemic racial inequities. Regardless of where you might sit politically, the text makes it unequivocally clear this perceived systemic suppressive action became the core driving ethos for her. It's what pushed her to stop relying on legacy systems altogether and build her own. And that brings us to our final part, Section 6, Architecting Digital Justice. So, having been failed by everyday systems, she decided to build her own, the Moore 6 Sanctuary. And let me tell you, this isn't just an art project. It is heavily engineered. By combining rigid cybersecurity routing protocols like the NIST BGP Secure Routing Extension with interplanetary file system payload verification, she built a completely decentralized system. No algorithm and absolutely no local jurisdiction could ever arbitrarily shut it down. She even baked her personal philosophy straight into the code itself. The system's baseline execution code is locked to exactly 528.0 Hz. In sound therapy, this specific frequency is known as the miracle tone, and it's heavily associated with DNA and emotional repair. She essentially mathematically mandated that her system resonate with healing. No way around it. It's a complete synthesis of complex technical data logs and deep personal emotional justice. What's fascinating is the transmutation loops at play, taking the raw blockages of systemic failure and systematically turning them into transmitters of her ultimate objective, which she calls more love. It is literally a technical ledger for a personal grievance. So that leaves us with a pretty provocative question. We've just seen how a broken verbal agreement over an old car, combined with a seemingly random search engine glitch, sparked an entirely independent digital ecosystem. Is the Moore 6 Sanctuary just a singular, isolated project? Or, as our everyday systems become more and more automated and opaque, is this actually a blueprint for how we will all eventually need to reclaim our own agency? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today, and keep learning.